Okay, so the Unit 4 review, Section 1 is about solving systems graphically. The first part has the graphs already done for us. So when we're looking to solve something graphically, we're looking at the picture and we're trying to find where the two shapes cross each other. So in this first problem, it looks like they cross each other at two different locations. So we just have to write the coordinates of those two locations. Now you're going to have to be real careful because I know a lot of us like to count these boxes, but if you notice, this is the first line right here, so that's where -1 is located. So this is -1 to the left, and then we're going to go up to this line here, which that line is 3. So it's +3. The second location is 2 to the right, and then 0. Now you want to be careful because on the test, they will try to trick you. They're going to put a point right here, and they're going to put a point right here. The thing is, I don't care where they cross the X and Y axis. All I care about is where they cross each other. So I want the answers to where the blue line, or not the blue line, the red line and the purple line cross each other. So that's here and here only. So don't fall for that on the test. Okay, the next question is very similar. They're just looking for where the blue line and the red line cross each other. So the blue curve and the red line cross each other here. So that location is going to be at 1, 0. Okay, next question. Now they want you to actually draw the picture. Now I'm going to use Desmos for this, and I'm going to actually have you guys do the drawing because you can draw that. I don't need to draw this. So let me go ahead and pull up Desmos. So for the first equation, you're going to have y equals, oops, I got to go into the Desmos. So y equals negative parentheses x minus 4 to the second power plus 5. And if you look at the graph on this, I'm going to kind of center it so you can see it. If you need to find all of your points, that's the top point, so it's at 4, 5. And if you want to find more points, you can go hit the gear. If you saw the gear up here above the equation, you hit this gear, and then you can hit a table, and you can make a table. Now you'll notice that this table of values, some of these values are kind of big. They're not going to fit on our graph. So you can manually go in and type the numbers you want to see. So I can put in like 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. So I can add numbers so that they fit on the actual graph. And you can see as I was typing, it actually puts the dots for you. Now I'm not going to draw it, but I do expect you to draw it on your assignment. So let me go into the next equation. Oops, I got to retype that. Y equals negative parentheses x minus 4. Squared plus 5. And the second equation is going to be y equals 2x minus 6. Now, I'm not really drawing this because I'm really just interested in where the two things cross each other. So it looks like they cross at those two locations. And again, Desmos is going to show you where they cross each other and where they cross the axis. So be careful with that because we only want where they cross each other. So the two answers are going to be at 5, 4, 5, 4. And the second answer is going to be at 1, -4. Again, make sure you draw your picture on your paper because when you submit it in my class, I'm not going to give you credit unless the pictures are there. So I'm just trying to save a little bit of time by not transferring the picture over because you can do that yourself. Okay, the next one. Number 4 says the graph and table form a system. So the circle is already there, but this table is not on there. So we're going to go ahead and draw that on there. Remember that f of x is basically your y, so 0, -3 would be down here, +1, -4 would be here, +2, -5 would be here, +3, -6 would be right here, 4, -7 would be right here, and then 5, -8 is off the charts, but we'll assume it's about right there. We want where the line crosses the circle, and it looks like it only touches it at this spot here, which is right here and right here. So that's going to be the final answer of +3, -6. Okay, next two. Again, we're going to go to Desmos for this. I expect you to draw it. I'm not going to transfer it over because I'm going to save some time on this video. First one is y equals negative parentheses x minus 3 squared, and then -2. Second equation is going to be y equals parentheses x minus 3 squared minus 4. So when we go to Desmos, all we really care about is where the graphs cross each other. So it looks like it's at +2, -3, and +4, -3. So that's what we're going to write for our answers over here. +2, -3, and +4, -3. Because that's where they cross each other only. Remember, Desmos is going to put these dots all over the place on the x-axis and the y-axis, but those two, they're not the answers. They're only where the purple line crosses the green line, or curves, I should say. Okay, next one. Y equals square root. I'm going to enter in the square root real quick. And you can also type SQRT and it'll put in the square root for you. So it's x plus 2. Get out of the square root and put -3. And then y equals 2x plus 1. So I'm going to maximize this so we can see this. I'm going to put that down. And I'm going to scoot this over. I'm going to hit. Actually, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to zoom in here to see where they cross each other. Let me make sure I typed this right. Let me go back. Oh, I forgot the 2 in the front. So let me go back here. There's a 2 in the front of this. That's a little bit better. So now it looks like that's where they're crossing. So -2, -3, and -1, -1. So -2, -3. And -1, -1. So make sure you transfer your pictures over. Again, if you want accurate pictures, you can hit the gear and it'll create a table for you. So that table of values, the more points you have, the better picture you're going to get. You do need to have these pictures on your paper, on the review, in order to receive credit. Okay, so now we switch gears and now they want us to solve it without the graph. It says to solve it algebraically. Now, if you notice the format of this question, the problem gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So that's set up for a back substitution. This has 3 answers. It's got an X answer, a Y answer, and a Z answer. And the Z answer is already done for us. So it looks like Z is equal to 5. So we're going to take that answer and we're going to go up a step. And we're going to plug it into that equation right there. So we're going to have Y equals 2 parentheses, not Y equals, what am I talking about? Y plus 2 parentheses equals 13. We're going to stick in the 5. So this is going to be Y plus 10 equals 13. And then we're going to solve it for Y. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So that tells me that Y is equal to 3. So I can go ahead and stick my 3 in the middle. And now I can substitute both of them back into the first equation. The first equation is 2x minus 3 times y. And then plus z. Notice I didn't write the y or the z because I know the answers to them. So I want to substitute those in. So I use parentheses and then that equals 10. Be very careful where you put your stuff because this first one is z, but that doesn't mean that goes in the first parentheses. It goes into the z spot, which is the third spot. So I'm going to put in a 5 there. And then I'm going to stick in the 3 right here. When I simplify this, I'm going to have 2x minus 9 plus 5 equals 10. I can combine these two terms, so I'll have 2x minus 4 equals 10. And then I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I have 2x equals 14, and then I'll just divide by 2 on both sides. So that means x is equal to 7. So my final answer is 7, 3, 5. Okay, the next question, you'll notice the next question has an exponent, so that means that we want to use substitution. When we do substitution, we want the problem to say y equals. So this one, even though it has the squared, it does say y equals, but the second one doesn't say y equals. So I'm going to go ahead and solve the second one so that it does say y equals. The fastest way to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add the y to the other side. So this is going to say 2x equals 2 plus y. And to get this y all by itself, now I just have to subtract 2. So I'm going to take 2x minus 2 equals y. And even though that it looks like it's written backwards, I'm going to go ahead and flip it around so it's on the other side. So I'm going to put equals 2x minus 2 over here, and I'll just get rid of this side over here. Okay, so the reason why this is important is because now that this is y equals, this is the answer that we can plug in for the y in the other question. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it so that the y is gone. Squared equals 8 parentheses x minus 1. So because I know that y is equal to 2x minus 2, I can go ahead and plug that in. And anytime you have this exponent here, that exponent means that you need to write the question twice. So we're going to write 2x minus 2 times 2x minus 2. And I'm going to go ahead and times this all out. So that's going to give me 4x squared. And then this guy right here is going to give me minus 4x. This one right here is going to give me another minus 4x. And then this one over here is going to give me plus 4. So if I simplify this, I should have 4x squared minus 8x plus 4. Now the side on the right, it shouldn't have parentheses, so we're going to go ahead and multiply that out. So that's going to give us 8x minus 8. So now the next thing I need to do is I need to make sure that this thing is equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 8x to get it to the other side. And I'm also going to add 8 to get that to the other side. So I'll have 4x squared minus 16x plus 12 equals 0. Now the reason why I'm making such a big deal about the 0 is because anytime you have a problem that has an exponent and it's equal to 0, you can actually go into the equation solver. So I'm going to go into my polynomial solver, degree 2. I'm going to put in a 4, a negative 16 for the middle number, and then a positive 12 for the final number. So this is solving it and telling me that the answers are going to be x equals 3 and x equals 1. So x equals 3 and x equals 1. Now to find the second half of the answer, because remember, we're trying to find where these guys cross each other, we're going to actually plug that into this box right here. Always plug it back in to the one that doesn't have the exponent, because that's going to be a lot easier. So I'll have 2 parentheses minus 2, and then I stick in the 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, 6 take away 2 is 4. So my final answer is going to be, when I put in 3, it gives me 4. First answer. Second answer, same thing. We're going to go ahead and put 2 parentheses minus 2, and then I'm going to stick in 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 take away 2 is 0. So my final answer here is, when I put in 1, it gives me 0. And again, if you want to see if you did this right, you can always just go and plug all this stuff into Desmos. So Desmos would be y to the second power equals 8 parentheses x minus 1, and then the second equation is 2x minus y equals 2. So Desmos is kind of like a fallback plan in case you don't know what you're doing. You can always graph it, and you can get the same exact answers you got as if you didn't graph it. So you notice I got 1, 0, that's this one, and then I also got 3, 4, and that's that one. Okay, next equation. This equation does not have any exponents. If it doesn't have any exponents, we got to get everything lined up. We need all of the x's here, we need all of the y's next, and then we need the equal signs, and then we need the answers. So you'll notice the second one is not in order. So I'm going to rearrange this so the y's are over here. So I'm going to add 3y, and I'm going to add 3y over here. So this is going to say x plus 3y equals negative 3. And in the first one, I'm not going to touch it because everything's already in order. So it says x plus 3y equals positive 3. Now, usually we would put these together, but we need opposites. And opposites are the same number, but opposite signs. So, I mean, we have the same numbers, they're just not opposite signs. So I'm going to take one of the questions and I'm going to multiply it by negative 1. So that's going to give me negative 1x minus 3y equals negative 3. And then the second one, I'm not going to touch it. So I'm going to leave this as x plus 3y equals negative 3. So now I can put them together. So 1x take away 1x is gone. 3y take away 3y is also gone. So I'm left with 0 on one side. And then negative 3 and negative 3 makes negative 6. So that's going to be a huge problem. So let's go take a look at Desmos and figure out what the heck's happening here. Because I'm supposed to have letters left, and I don't have any letters to solve for. So if I type in x plus 3y equals 3, and the second one says x equals -3 minus 3y, you're going to notice that the reason why there is no answer is because the lines don't cross each other. You can scroll forever and ever and ever, and these lines, they're parallel. So an answer is where they cross each other, but they don't cross because they're parallel. So in this instance, we would just write no solution. Now, that's very rare that we have a no solution, so don't go and put no solution on every question without checking first. It's only no solution if the two lines are parallel to each other. Okay, next question. This guy right here, it's got the exponent, so we want them to both say y equals. So let me take the first equation, x squared plus x minus y equals 12. I'm going to go ahead and move the y over, so I'm going to add y to the other side. So I have 12 plus y equals x squared plus x. And then I'm going to subtract the 12. So I'm going to subtract 12 over here. So I have y equals x squared plus x minus 12. And again, I don't like the equal sign on that side, so I'm going to put it on this side. X squared plus x minus 12. And I'll just get rid of this. So the first one says y equals. Now I got to do the same thing for the second one. So -3x plus y equals -4. So this one, since y is positive, I'm going to leave that there, and I'm just going to add the 3x over. So y equals 3x minus 4. Now, if you remember how we did the other one, this is the one we want to put in because it doesn't have the exponent. So we're going to take that stuff and we're going to plug it in for that y over here. So you basically just set them equal to each other. So this one's not as hard as the other one because there's no exponent on the left side. So we have x squared plus x minus 12. And then I want it equal to 0. So I'm going to leave that x squared positive. So I'm going to add 4 here to get it over to there. And I'm going to subtract 3x to get it over to here. So now we've got it equal to 0, which is awesome, because anytime that happens, that means we can use the solver. And that's -8. So let me bust out the solver real quick. Hit exit so I can go back. I'll clear this. So I have 1, -2, and -8. So that means that my two answers are going to be x equals 4 and x equals -2. So let me write those over here. X equals 4 and x equals -2. So what we're going to do with those is we're going to actually plug those in to the problem that didn't have the exponent. So we're going to plug that into this question over here. So we're going to have 3 parentheses minus 4. We're going to put in the 4. So that's 12 take away 4, which is 8. So one answer is 4, 8. And the second answer, we're going to do it again. So 3 parentheses minus 4. But this time we're going to put in the -2. So this is -6 minus 4, which is -10. So when I put in the -2, I get an answer of -10. And again, we can go quickly check to make sure we did this right in Desmos. So let me delete these. So we have x to the second power plus x minus y equals 12. And then minus 3x plus y equals -4. Trying to find where they cross each other. So one of them is at 4,8 and the other one is at -2, -10. So we did it right. Okay, this one is almost identical. So again, we're going to solve it the same exact way. Make sure they are different. Let me go back. Yeah, they're different problems. Delete that. Different problems, same exact steps. So first one, I'm going to take 3x squared plus 4x minus y equals 7. I'm going to move the y over, so I'm going to plus y. So I have 3x squared plus 4x equals 7 plus y. And I'm going to subtract 7. So I have 3x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals y. And I don't like it backwards, so I'm going to switch everything around. So 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. I'll get rid of this stuff. And I do it with the other one as well. So I have 2x minus y equals minus 1. I don't like having a negative y, so I'm going to plus the y to get it to the other side. So 2x equals minus 1 plus y, and then I'm going to plus the 1 over. So 2x plus 1 equals y. And again, I don't like it backwards, so I'm just going to put that stuff on the other side. 2x plus 1. So we're going to take this one and we're going to plug it into the other y. So we basically just set them equal to each other. So 2x plus 1 equals 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. We want to get it equal to 0, so we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. And we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we got 0 equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. And then we're going to go ahead and use the solver, because once we get this equal to 0, the solver does the hard stuff for us. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my solver. The first number should be 3. The second number is going to be a positive 2. And the last number is going to be a minus 8. So this one tells us that one answer is 4/3 and the other answer, x equals 4/3. And then the other answer is negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take these two and plug them into the problem that didn't have the exponent. So it's 2 times 4/3 plus 1. And that's calculator work. So let me go into the menu. I'll go up to here. And then we're going to put 2 parentheses 4/3. And we'll close the parentheses and then plus 1. So that answer is 11/3. So when I put in 4/3, the second answer is going to be 11/3. And then the next one says 2 times minus 2 plus 1. So I can do that in the calculator real quick. 2 parentheses minus 2 plus 1. And that gives me negative 3. So when I put in negative 2, the answer is negative 3. And just, again, quick check in Desmos. 3, oh, I got to delete everything first. 3x squared plus 4x minus y equals 7. And the second one is 2x minus y equals negative 1. Make sure I type this right. Oh, that's not a 7, that's a y. There we go. So that guy right there, I'm assuming is this fraction. Is that decimal? I'm not assuming, I know. And then this is the other answer that we got. Okay, last one. Now this one's nice because this one, they're both equal. They already say y equals, so we're ready to just set them equal to each other. So I'm going to have x minus 5 squared plus 4 equals negative x plus 15. Exponents mean write it twice. So we're going to do x minus 5 times x minus 5. So I'm going to multiply this out real quick. So x squared minus 5x, and then minus 5x again, plus 25. And don't forget about this plus 4 from up here. I'm going to bring that down. And so when I combine all my like terms, I have x squared minus 10x plus 29. Then I can bring all this stuff down. So negative x plus 15. I want this equal to 0, so I'm going to add x. So I add x over here. And then I'm going to subtract 15 and subtract 15 over here. So all of this stuff cancels, and now we're equal to 0. And that's a big deal because anytime an equation with an exponent is equal to 0, we can go ahead and stick that into the solver. So I'm going to put this as 14. So in the solver, hang on a second, let me make sure I've got this right. Yep. So I'm going to go into the solver now. And I'm going to have, in the solver, we're going to go over to here. We're going to the polynomial solver. So I have 1, oh, degree 2. I have 1 in the front, negative 9 in the middle, and then positive 14 at the end. So that tells me that my answers are positive 7 and positive 2. So x equals positive 7 and x equals positive 2. And we're going to go and take those and plug them in to the problem that doesn't have the exponent in it. So it's negative parentheses plus 15. We stick the 7 inside. Negative 7 plus 15 is 8. So I have 7 comma 8 as one of the answers. Put that in parentheses. And then negative, put in the 2, and that gives me negative 13. So that's my y value, so x is 2. And then again, I'm just going to go ahead and quick check it in Desmos. So we have y equals negative x plus 15. Second one is y equals parentheses x minus 5 to the second power plus 4. So we're trying to find where they cross each other. One says 213 and the other one says 78, and that is exactly what we got. Oh, I made a slight mistake. This is supposed to be a positive 13. Saw that, caught that on Desmos over here. This is a positive 13, not a negative 13. So I don't know why I wrote negative 13 over there. 15 is bigger, so it should have been a positive. Okay, so 3x3 systems, if you remember in class, they take up a whole page. Because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use elimination to get rid of one of the letters and get it down to a system of 2 equations. But I taught you guys a shortcut, so we're just going to use a shortcut. So our life hack for this one is to go into the equation solver and go into the simultaneous solver. So we go into F1. This has 3 unknowns. It's got an x, y, and a z. So let me clear all this out. Oops. Clear the problem. So we just basically use the numbers in front of the letters. If a letter is missing, we use a 0. So in the first equation, we're going to have 1 for x, 1 in front of y, 1 in front of z, and then 2 is the answer. So I put 2 at the end. The next one has a negative 1 in front of the x, a positive 3 in front of the y, and then a positive 2 in front of the z, and then we have an 8 as the answer. Now you have to be careful on this one because this next one's missing a letter. There's a 4 in front of the x, a 1 in front of the y, and z is missing. So I need to make that a 0, and then I put a 4. Then I hit execute, and it tells me that the answer is 0, 4, negative 2. 0, 4, negative 2. So this section, I mean, you guys should get 100% on this section. So let's see, we're going to do it again. 2 in front of x, 3 is in front of y, negative 2 is in front of z, and then the answer is 4. And negative 2 is in front, negative 1 is in front of the y, negative 1 is in front of the z, and then negative 14 is the answer. And then the last one is 3 is in front of x, negative 1 is in front of the y, 2 is in front of your z, and then positive 14 is at the end. So the answer is 2, 4, 6. And then the last one, let's go hit exit. I'm going to clear this out. So be careful again because the first line right there, it's missing a letter. So in front of x is negative 2. There is no y, so I'm going to leave that as a 0. And then z has a negative 2 in front of it. And then 4 is what it's equal to. Then we have negative 1 in front of the x. Then we have positive 1 in front of the y. And we have negative 3 in front of the z. And then that stuff is all equal to negative 6. Last one, there's a 3 in front of the x, a 3 in front of the y, a 1 in front of your z, and then a negative 14 at the end. So the answer is negative 604. So negative 6, if my computer unfreezes. I'll wait a few seconds because my computer is frozen. Desmos is working. Now we're back in business. Maybe. I'm going to pause this and let my computer. Okay, I think we're back in business. So the answer should be negative 604. I got pretty scared there because I thought I was going to have to record the whole video. That's a 0. Okay, next questions. It says, given the system, describe the row operations you would use to create an equation that eliminates the y using row 1 and row 2. So first of all, this is row 1, this is row 2, and this is row 3. They say use row 1 and row 2, so row 3 is trash. Let's get rid of that so we're not distracted. They want us to eliminate the y. So if they want us to eliminate the y, I don't want to see anything else. I just want to see the y's. So I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to get rid of all this. And I'm going to get rid of all that. So this question is saying, what do you have to do to get these to cancel? So in order to cancel, they have to be opposite of each other. So that row 1, it needs a 3 in front, but it also needs a negative 3. And then if I add that to row 2, I don't need to touch row 2 because it already has the positive 3. That's going to get them to cancel. I'll show that to you again. So it says use row 1 and row 3. So this is row 1, row 2, and row 3. And so since they're not saying anything about row 2, I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. And it says right here to figure out what you need to do to get rid of the z. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of everything but z. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of all this. I'm going to get rid of that. Got to be careful though, because I need to see that sign. So in order to get these guys to cancel, what we need to do is that z at the bottom, it needs a negative 2 in front. So I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to add negative 2 times row 3. And I probably shouldn't have scribbled those out, row 3 and row 1. So if I put these together, and we don't need that plus a negative, anytime you have plus a negative, you can just go ahead and stick that as a subtraction. So that's our final answer there. And let me just double check. Desktop, I'm going to go into, I'm going to go check the assignment real quick because I want to see if there's a distributed practice section. Actually, I'll go into my downloads because I think I have it in there. There's my review. Let's double check. Do we have distributed practice? There isn't any in the review, but there is some on the test. So I will tell you exactly what's going to be on there in a second video.